Hi, in this video we are going to see how to create the learning resources activity from the roadmap of continuous learning. So as a client admin, I click on the roadmap of continuous learning module. I create the module title, I enter it and I save it. After that I click on the module and I can see two activities. So this is the learning resources activity, so I can click on the learning resources activity. After I'm adding that, I can see the title and I can see the description for it. After I added the title and description, I can see the development goals here, so I can add the development goals. So if you see, the development goal has a title and a description for it, and for each development goals I can add competencies. So this will be a text field where I can enter the competencies, and each of the competencies has its own criteria, acceptance criteria, the word limits and other stuffs, and it has three dots: edit, duplicate and delete. Once I have added the competency, I can click on next. Then I can select the resources that maps to this particular competency or the development goal. The resources can be of three types. It can be either course, it can be from the resource library, or for the external resources. So when I click on the courses, I can see the list of courses that is there. I can search the course and I can add the course to that particular development goals. Okay, once I've added the courses, I need to map the competency to it. What is the competency that is corresponding to it? So when I click on select competency, I can select the competencies that is there in this particular development goals. If you remember, we have added these competencies in the earlier steps. So once I've added it, I can save and proceed. And each of the courses, again I have the minus sign, which I can delete the course wherever I required for it. Then once I've added the competencies, once I mapped the competency, I can click on save. And if you feel like I need to add some more resources, for example, if you wanted to add some kind of resource library, okay, resource library, if you remember, we already have a feature called as resource libraries. This is still in development, but here also I can add the different resource library that is already configured in the platform. So I can, when I click on the resource library, I see the different resource library that is there in the platform. I can search and I can add it. Once I add the resources, added resources, I can see the added resources here below the courses. So this section shows all the core resources that I've added for this particular development goal. I can see the courses, I can see the resources added. I can select again. Similarly, I need to select the competency for each of the resources, resource library that I've added. So here again I can add the external resources for this particular development goal. So whenever I click on the external resources, I can see I can add a title, I can add a description, and these are the external links, the link that is directing to any of the resources that is outside our platform. And again I can add I can select the competency for it. So once I have added it, when I click on it, okay, here this is the all the learning resources that I've added for this development goal. You can see it. You can see the core resources added, the courses that is there from the platform. These are the resource library that is there from the platform, and these are the external resources that have been added to this development goals. So once I have added all the resources that is mapped to this development goal, I can click on save and proceed. It says that the learning resources has been added to the development goal. And when I click on OK, I can see the development goals. I see that this one development goal added here. There are two competencies that is mapping to this particular development goals. There are courses, there are resource library, external resources, a date created by the created by user. Each of the development goals has these options: view, edit, duplicate, deactivate and delete option. Okay, and here I have only one settings as such for the learning resources. So when I click on the settings part, this settings will be similar to the settings that we have for the learning path journey. Okay, so maybe like for example, okay, so this is a learning resources. So for the learning resources, I just have only three settings. One is points, one is badges, and one is diploma. So everything remains the same. So when I click on add diploma, I can add the diploma certificates and I can select the criteria for it. whether it can be a percentage completion or it can be a required completion, and I can click on save. And similarly I can add the badges and points. These settings will be similar to what it is there in the learning path that we showed in the scene in the last video.